Alright. Alright, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming out. I see quite a few faces I know and quite a few new ones. So for the faces I know, I'm sorry you gotta listen to me all over again. So I am Catherine Trammell. I'm the campus director here at Suncoast Developer Skills. And we are a full-time immersive program for teaching adults web development. So we do a full stack program. We teach everything from HTML, CSS, JavaScript. We go into a little bit more advanced with going into React. And then our students choose a backend language. Right now they're currently choosing Ruby or .NET. And hopefully in the future we're going to be expanding that to different options. So keep an eye on our website if you're looking for something like Node or something like that. We also do part-time classes on the evenings and weekends. So if you have any questions, let us know. We have a class that's starting on April 29th, which is actually this coming up Monday. And then we have another group starting in July. So if you have any questions around that, please let me know. But otherwise, I'm really excited to hand it over to my Peter and let him do his fancy stuff.
Minimally fancy, I promise. That is super bright. So, hi everyone, thanks so much for coming out tonight. My name is Robbie Beaver. I'm here to talk about interviewing. I'm going to try not to get really blind about the projector. So the topic, the title of the talk tonight is Interviewing Application Software. And I want to kind of focus on the last part of that title. Because interviewing is something that as software developers, as engineers, we talk about a lot. And there's a lot of talk, a lot of articles written, a lot of talks given about technical interview problems, right? How to solve them, how to recognize them, how to practice for them. And I think that's something that gets neglected a lot is the entire rest of the hiring process, which can be kind of confusing if you're not familiar with it. So my goal tonight is not just to talk about interview problems, although we will talk a little bit about those as well. But to try to give you kind of a holistic overview of the entire hiring process at a typical company. So you have an idea of how to navigate your way from the very beginning to catching the company's interest to hopefully getting an offer. So the agenda for today, I'm going to start with just a quick overview of the hiring process, the typical steps you should expect. We're going to talk about how to get some work experience to start your resume with when you're looking for your first job. We're going to go over some basic tips for crafting your resume. We're going to talk a little bit about how you actually get into what they call the recruiting funnel and make your first contact with the company. We're going to talk about phone interviews, which is a sometimes neglected topic, but usually you will have a phone interview with the company before you have an in-person interview. So it's something that is worth spending a little bit of time preparing for. I'll talk about on-site interviews, which are kind of like the bread and butter of interview, right? This is what we all think of as the interview. And then we're going to take a break. And by a break, I mean the opposite of a break. We're going to take some time to work our way through an actual interview problem. And then at the end, I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about, once you've gotten some offers, how do you pick one, and how do you negotiate that offer to get the best compensation that you possibly can for your work. Now, once we're done with all that, any time that we have left is yours for Q&A. So, just the Q&A format that I want to do this time is going to be a little bit different. So instead of putting hands up or turning up the microphone, what I'm going to ask you to do is put index cards and pens on all of your tables. So we're going to hold questions until the end. If you have a question you want to ask, just write it down on the card and pass it to the room. So Catherine has graciously volunteered to collect them and to organize them. So at the end, we're going to have, I will try to get to all the questions, but we're going to try to do them in the order that Catherine thinks will be the most useful for the people attending here. Cool. So let's start with an overview of the process. And I forgot to introduce myself, by the way. So a little bit of background on me. I am from the Bay Area here. I grew up in Bradenton. I went to UCF. After college, I moved to California to work in the software industry because, unfortunately, that is where most tech companies are located. I joined Facebook out of college. I worked there for about 5.5 years until I went to my current employer, who I'm going to leave unnamed for the sake of recording. So I want to be clear that I'm speaking for me, not them. That's not a secret or anything. You can just ask me afterwards if you really want to know. But in that time, I've been involved in doing technical interviews, which has given me kind of an inside view of the process. particular, most of this experience in Facebook, I've done on the order of probably 230 to 240 technical interviews in my career so far. Most of those were phone screens because I worked remote for quite some time. And I've also had, two chances in my own career to be on the other side of the table and to go over it itself. So be aware of the limitations that my background imposes on what I'm telling you here. Right? So my experience has mostly been in kind of medium to large size tech companies. So the process that you encounter at any given company is not going to be exactly like the ones that I've been familiar with. Every company is a little bit different. In particular, I don't have a ton of experience with startups and small companies. So keep that in mind when you're considering my advice. However, I will say that pretty much anywhere you're going to interview, there tends to be a lot of commonality, and that's what I'm going to try to address. So the first part of the process is that you have to become known to the company, right? They have to get in contact with you somehow. And that generally takes one of two forms, which is either you submitting an application, potentially at the estimate recruiter who reached out to you, or just because you found the open position and you're interested, or someone who works there referring you, which is the best option, and we'll talk about that later. After that, you're usually going to have an initial conversation with someone who represents the company. This could be a recruiter, it could be a hiring manager, but generally they're just going to start by calling you up and kind of feeling you out, finding out about your background, talk to you about the position, and try to decide at just a very high level if you are a potential candidate for this role. After that, you will typically get phone screen interviews. These are technical interviews, generally conducted with a collaborative text editor over the internet, with you and the interviewer both talking to each other on the phone, which is like an on-site interview, but it has its own kind of unique challenges that we'll talk about when we get to that section. Then you have the on-site interviews, right, which is like the real interview most people want. This is where the company will bring you to their location, and they will put you in a room, and they will grill you for potentially a very long time. It is almost universally unpleasant, but I'm going to try to help you get through it the best you can. And then the ideal outcome from that is that you get an offer. Right? That's the outcome we're all looking for here. Once you have offers, there is a step that a lot of people forget that I didn't think of the first time I got a job, which is negotiation. Right? An offer isn't the end of the conversation, it's the beginning of one. And you should always try to get the best deal you can for any job that you're about to start. All right, so let's start at the very beginning of this whole process. Actually, before this process even begins, right? So your resume is typically going to have three sections that are important besides your contact info, and those are your education, your work experience, and your skills. Right? Work experience is super important. Having work experience will help you get a job, but of course, you need a job to get work experience. So how do we navigate this particularly tricky catch-22? The first option, which is probably the most common for people who are engaged in any kind of formal learning program, typically college, but if you're in an environment where you're learning, so you have defined periods of time with breaks in between, those breaks are a great time to look for internships at tech companies. An internship is essentially like a mini version of a job. Right? You'll have to go through interviews to get it. But generally, they don't expect the same level of experience, the same level of skill they would for a full-time position. And that gives you an opportunity to, A, learn about the business of being a software developer, and B, to get some experience on your resume for when you're ready to go out and start looking for full-time positions. If that's not an option for you, there are always personal projects, right? So the nice thing about programming is that you can pretty much do it anywhere, at any time you want. There's nothing stopping you from going out and building things that you think would be cool. So if personal projects are the only experience you have, put that on your resume. In particular, if a personal project is notable in some way, right, if it has a large number of users, or maybe it's gotten some good press, right, or even if it does something really impressive that that a hiring manager might like to see, that can be a plus. What's even better than personal projects is working on open source projects. So for anyone who's not familiar with the whole concept of open source, These are software projects that range from very small to very large, which a lot of people kind of collaborate together on over the internet. Right? So the nice thing about working on an open source project is that one, it frees you from the task of having to try to make the project notable, because you can join a project that is already notable. And two, it gives you experience working with other developers, which is important because building software is a skill, but building software with other people is a whole separate skill set in and of itself. So if you can show future employers that you have done that, right, that you have built software collaboratively, that's a big plus on your resume. And then the final one, which I always like to drag out and plug any chance I get. Do we have anyone who's currently a college student here? Great. Okay, well, tell the underclassmen about this. So every summer, Google has a program they run called the Summer of Code. This is a program where Google picks a certain number of open source projects, and they give each of them a quota of students they're allowed to hire for the summer. And Google's role in the whole thing is basically just they pick the projects and then they flip through them. So if you want to get into this, your job is to find an open source project that's participating. Right, and then you just have to convince them, you typically fill an application, that you'd be a good prospect to work on a project for the summer. If you do that, two things happen. Three things. First of all, you get valuable experience working on an open source project. Second of all, you get paid to work from home, which is always great. And third, you get a legitimate reason to put the word Google on your resume without actually having to get hired by Google. This is huge. Having the word Google on your resume will blast you through every keyword filter known to man. Right? There's no automated system that will not pass that resume on to you. So this is, personally, I think this is kind of my loophole to getting hired. Right? I did this two summers when I was in college, and I got responses back from resume submissions that I had no business getting responses back from as like a middling student at a public university. So if you are in college, if you're going to be in college in the future, this is also works for master's and PhD students, or if you know people who are in college, tell them about the summer code. It's a great opportunity. All right, so let's say that you either already have work experience because you're not new to this, or you've got your first work experience now. You've got a personal project, or some open source work you can put down. How do we actually write a resume? The thing that's frustrating about resumes is that they're completely non-standard. Right? There's no the format for a resume. Every website that you go to look for resume templates will have a significantly different one. So there's not really one right way to do a resume, but there are a lot of wrong ways to do it. So some basic tips to keep in mind. First and foremost, keep it simple. Unless you happen to also be a graphic designer who's applying for a graphic design job, don't try to do graphic design on your resume. It can be cool, but mostly it can go wrong in a lot of very spectacular ways. Don't try to get clever in resumes, is my general advice. I've seen a lot of, not as many, I've seen a handful of unique resumes where people have done things like using little star counts next to their skills to tell you how good they are at them, or putting bar charts, or all kinds of crazy things, which feels cool when you're making it, but you have to keep in mind that people who are reading resumes are usually reading a lot of resumes. Typically they have a stack, they're going through them, they're skimming them, and they're looking for the ones that they want to put on the stack of content. So your goal in writing a resume is not to be flashy and catch their attention. That will probably annoy them. Your goal is to make it as easy as possible for them to absorb the information they need and then keep moving on. Now focus your resume on the tangible experience that you have, right? So aside from your contact info, there are three important sections of your resume: your education, your work experience, and your skills. Of the three, education basically doesn't matter. It may fall into meeting a minimum requirement for the job, but unless you went to a prestigious university, pretty much no one cares about your education. Even if you did go to a prestigious university, by the time you get 2 or 3 jobs into your career, no one really cares about your education. Skills are, in theory, a great way to identify a good candidate. The problem with them is that literally anyone can write literally anything they want in the skills section. You people reading the resume have no idea how familiar you actually are with the technology you're listing, it's not a great signal. The work experience is gold, right? Because you can't fake that unless you're outright lying. There's no better indicator of you being able to do a job than showing that you've actually done that job before. So in general, I would say if you have to pick something to dedicate the most space to in your resume, and I do recommend kind of keep it to one page if you can, focus on the work experience. That's what's going to really catch the eye of someone doing a resume. Now, don't be like keywords, right? I mentioned earlier that summary code is like a good way to kind of see keyword Google on your resume. This applies to all kinds of other keywords, right? So there are a lot of companies who receive a lot more resumes than they can possibly have a keyword. Facebook, Google, Apple, they all get thousands of submissions from them. Probably 10,000, right? So they usually, and a lot of companies use automated filtering systems to decide which ones are going to actually really evaluate. These range from really complicated to really simple. So at the complicated end, I had colleagues at Facebook who were working on machine learning models to try to figure out which resumes were the most indicative of a strong candidate. But at the simplest level, a lot of people just scan for keywords in the resumes and if they match, they get forward on the human. And you can probably guess what some of those keywords are, right? Google, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Harvard, MIT, CMU, right? Those kinds of things. Now, there are different levels of unethical you can go to get those words on the resume, right? There are definitely people who have done things like just doing a keyword dump at the bottom of the resume and basically pick text on white background so that only the machine would see it and humans viewing a printed resume wouldn't. I don't recommend doing that because it backfires spectacularly. But what you can do is do things that are put on by those entities, right? And you can then list them on your resume and get the word there without actually having to work there. So if you've ever been to a hackathon that was put on by a major tech company, you can put that on your resume, and now the name of that company is on the resume. Now, of course, when a human reads it, the resume still has to stand on its own merit, but you just massively increase your chances of getting it to a human to stand on its own merit in the first place, right? Same thing with projects like Summer Code, or even like seminars or classes put on by major universities or big tech companies. That kind of thing can help you find your way through keyword filters. And I recommend trying to keep your resume to one page, except for references, right? So like references usually go on a separate page. But try to keep the meat of your resume to one page until you get pretty far into your career and it just won't fit anymore. And so what you can do is when you're starting out and you don't necessarily have a ton of stuff to pack a resume with, that's when you maybe list the less critical things, right? I've seen people put like hobbies and interests, extracurriculars from college, that kind of thing. When you start getting new jobs, you need to add to the resume, and something has to give that's going to stay on one page. Drop the less important things, right? Let the extracurriculars get bumped off the bottom so that your new job can take a nice shiny spot at the top of the work experience. And finally, have references ready. So I do not give out my references page to everyone that I give my resume to. The reason for that is that my references page, right, has like phone numbers and email addresses of the people who are my references. And you have to keep in mind that if you send a resume to a recruiter or upload it to a job site, it's not just going to be seen by one person, right? It's quite possibly going to be uploaded somewhere else, passed around to colleagues, printed out and left on conference tables. So I just try to be a good steward of the contact information my references entrusted me with, and I hold that back until later in the process when the company actually asks for it. Now, if you've got your resume all nice and shiny, polished up, it's good to go. The next step is to get yourself on the company's radar. So, when it comes to hiring, companies usually call it the funnel, right? And you probably hear about a funnel in a lot of different businesses. But the basic idea is that you have steps of the process. And at the top of the funnel, this is where everyone's piling their applications in, right? This is where you have the most applicants. And at each step, the funnel gets smaller, right? Fewer and fewer people progress to the next stage. So this is the very top of the funnel, right? Getting yourself into that funnel. You have to either apply to the company or you have to get referred to it by a friend or a colleague. So first things first, I recommend don't take requirements and job listings too literally. We all like to laugh at like ridiculous job listings, right? And have things like you must have how long is React? You must have a decade of experience in React, right? And React is like 5 years old. That kind of thing. Or just stupidly long, experience requirements or technologies aren't really relevant. So if you think that you would be a good fit for a position, just go ahead and apply. Like, there's a very good chance that the person who's going to receive your resume isn't the person who wrote that ridiculous job posting. And they might look at it and say, yeah, this person could probably do that job, right? The worst thing that's going to happen is they're going to look at your resume and they're going to put it into the Do Not Contact file. So there's really no downside here. If you don't apply, you're definitely not getting it. That is one thing that I can guarantee with 100% certainty. No one just sends unsolicited job offers. Now, you're going to want to make sure that when you make an application to a company, you tailor it to that employer. And you don't necessarily have to make like a different version of your resume for each company you apply to, although some very enterprising individuals do, and I mean, props to them, that's kind of impressive. But at least the application itself should be unique to the employer. In particular, there will usually be an opportunity to include a cover letter with your resume. Write a cover letter, but don't write like a form cover letter. The letter should make it clear that you know who the company is, right? You know what they do, you have some idea of what the position entails, and try to include some kind of personal reason why you want that particular job. Now, I think you know and the person reading this letter both know that the actual reason is probably I have bills to pay, but come up with something better than that. It's just, every company wants to feel like the people applying are uniquely passionate about that particular company, so let them think that if you want to get a contact. But if you can, try not to even apply through public channels, because the much better method is to get a referral from a friend. So people who already work for a tech company will generally have the ability to refer friends and former colleagues for open positions. This will work out great for both of you, right? So companies love getting referrals for hiring because if someone is already working for them, that means they basically trust that person, which means they also probably trust people who that person trusts. So for you, if you get referred, you are pretty much guaranteed to at least get a phone screen out of it. For like super huge companies, this may not always be the case, but generally speaking, if someone who works for a company refers you, you're at least going to get a phone call from a recruiter. And your friend, if you get hired, will probably get a bonus. Tech companies very frequently have like several $1,000 referral bonuses. So if a friend refers you, you get hired, they're going to get some cash, and they're at least going to like owe you a nice dinner or something in return. So really, it's win. Okay, so you've applied, you've got the company's attention. What comes next is your first contact with the company. Their first contact with you, but you already got in touch with them. So, generally speaking, after submitting an application or getting a referral, your first contact is going to be one of two things. It's going to come from either a recruiter or a hiring manager, and it's going to consist of either you getting a call or them emailing you to schedule a call. Preferably the latter because no one likes to be caught off guard, but sometimes they'll just call you. So one way or another, expect to find yourself on the phone. Companies do not like to do this kind of first contacts and expectation setting over email. So you'll probably going to get an initial phone call. This will typically be non-technical. What this is most likely going to be is you talking about your background, right, and telling you about position, answering any questions you have. And basically someone who is not necessarily a technical interview, trying to feel you out to figure out if you're a good match for the company and a good potential candidate for that position. That being said, you will not always get a non-technical screen to start with. It's very rare, but it has happened to me a couple of times where I was expecting like one of these softball calls from a recruiter, and I picked up the phone and it was the hiring manager and an engineer, and they started peppering me with technical questions. So So don't expect that, but be prepared for it to happen. I was going to say something else, but I forgot it, so let's just move on. All right, so after that, if you pass on from that phase, you're generally going to have technical phone screens. These are technical interviews conducted over the phone. So for these, first and foremost, find a good quiet place with a good internet connection to take the call. Now, the thing you're going to be doing over the internet is using a text editor together with your interviewer. So it might not seem super important to have a good internet connection because how much bandwidth does text take, really? But the problem that you run into is latency. If you don't have a good connection, the collaborative experience can lag, right? You might type something, they might not see it for 5 seconds, they might have already typed something else in the same place. It can be a pain in the bone. So make sure you've got a good internet connection. You also don't want to get disconnected. In your quiet place, it's self-explanatory, right? You don't want background noise in your phone call. Get yourself a hands-free headset. So obviously you can't hold the phone to your ear and type, which is something that you're probably not going to think about before your very first phone screen. I did not think about it. I ended up scrambling to use speakerphone. Don't be in the position I was in. Get a headset. Or even better, if you have some kind of crazy podcasting rig with a microphone at your desk, and you can hook that up to your phone, use that, right? But one way or another, you want to have a headset or some kind of good quality microphone that's going to be directed at your voice. Because speakerphone, especially on a handheld cell phone, is usually pretty poor quality. And trust me, it's already fairly difficult to manage the communication of an interview over the phone. So give yourself all the help you can. Use a headset. Also, if you've got a landline phone, this is its time to shine. That thing may have been sitting on the cradle for the last 5 years, but today it's coming out to play. As far as telephones go, you can't beat a landline. Now, sometimes you'll have a Skype or Google Hangouts interview, and that does tend to be better audio quality. But if you're doing it over the plain old telephone system, which a lot of companies do, you just can't beat a landline. Okay, now, after you've done a phone screen, right, potentially multiple phone screens, that's right, sorry, I missed something. The outcome of the phone screen, I want to emphasize here, is 3 possible things. So there are 2 decisive actions that the company can take at this point. One is they can decide that you're not a good fit and that they're not going to continue to consider you for the position. The positive outcome, of course, is they can decide that they liked you and they want to send you on to the next stage. There's a third option, which is that they can ask you to do another phone screen. They might ask you to do another phone screen and ask you to do another phone screen after that. I have heard of people in very outlier cases even doing 4 phone screens for the same company. And that's going to feel like a negative thing, right? If you had asked to do a second one, it feels like you failed. But you did not fail, because if you failed, they would have just told you to get lost. So the second phone screen means is that basically it means that they didn't feel like they got enough information about you to make an informed decision. So a second phone screen is not like I screwed up and now I have this last chance to redeem myself. It just means you need to try to do the same thing you just did with another interviewer so that you get a better feel for you. It is entirely possible that you can give the exact same performance for the second phone screen that you did for the first phone screen, and this time they'll push you through. So don't despair, right? Try to approach every subsequent phone screen with the same energy and the same optimism you had for the first one. Because nothing will hurt your performance more, aside from hangovers, than thinking that you're going to fail. Right? Okay, so the positive outcome of the phone screen part of the process is that you could be asked to come for an on-site interview. On-site interviews are, like the name says, typically on-site. The company's going to ask you to their office. If the company is out of town or far away from you, you should expect them to transport you and to pay for your lodging. Generally, they want to do a reimbursement thing. Normally, they just make travel arrangements for you. If anyone wants you to pay to travel to them for an on-site interview, it's some kind of a scam. That's not how things are. So you're going to go in. Typically, these are an all-day affair. Generally speaking, you're going to have multiple interviews. tends to range between 3 and 5, maybe 6 if you're especially unlucky. A typical on-site interview is going to range in time from 30 to 60 minutes, with 45 minutes being by far the most common. Every company I've interviewed with, almost to a fault, does 45-minute interviews. They like it because they can fit into a 1-hour time span with some room for like breaks and interviewers to go back and forth. Generally, you're going to have a separate interviewer for each interview. The reason for that is the company wants to get multiple independent perspectives on you and your abilities. The other thing you have to keep in mind about the multiple interviewers is that they're generally insulated from each other. They don't like walk out into the hallway and be like, oh, that guy totally bombed, right? Like they don't talk to each other, they don't see each other's feedback until they've each written their own respective feedbacks. At least they should. This is the norm of every company I'm aware of. So that means that every time you get a new interviewer, the slate is effectively clean. Even if you totally blew it with the last one, this person has no idea that you just screwed. You can knock this interviewer's socks off. And generally speaking, like one bad interview is not going to sink you. If you have one really bad interview and you completely nail the rest of them, there's still a good chance that you get hired. So just keep in mind that everyone is independent. So when it comes to getting to the onsite, make sure you're punctual, make sure you're professional, right? You don't have to dress up a lot. Like almost every tech company I've ever interviewed with has explicitly told me not to wear a suit. They don't tell me not to wear a tie, so I do. You know, they will generally tell you like it's okay to be casual, we have a casual atmosphere here, and that's quite possibly true. Like, it probably won't hurt you at a lot of companies to show up in a t-shirt, but why take a chance? I usually just dress up as much as I can without seeming overdressed for the company. But yeah, be punctual, be professional. Make sure that you leave yourself plenty of time. So you may have a hard time finding a company, there may be traffic. You may have a hard time finding parking. You may have a hard time getting into the building. Right? Tech companies, software companies in particular, very frequently do not serve customers from the general public. So they tend not to have big, brightly marked entrances that anyone can wander into. So leave yourself some time for the off chance that you end up having to frantically call a recruiter and ask for directions on getting into the building. Because, hey, there's 500 companies in this office park and your door doesn't have one. When you're in the interview room, you're doing interview problems, the most important thing to do is to communicate all times, right? So I want to be like, let's go back to first basics here. Think about the reason that this company brought you to this building today. Think about the reason that they're spending, you know, a half a day to a day's worth of person hours to have their engineers come interview. It's because they want to learn about you. They want to find out how you think, how you solve problems, what you know. So the entire objective for the interviewers is essentially to give you prompts and then to listen to you explain yourself. Their goal is to listen to you, and they can't listen if you're not talking. So communicate throughout the problem-solving process, right? If you are doing a problem, you stand in front of the whiteboard, you stare at it for 5 minutes, you stare at it for 10 minutes, stare at it with a perfect solution in your head, and you just start writing it down on the board, right? The interviewer got no information in those 10 minutes. They know that you came up with the solution, but did you just remember it from something on the internet, right? How do you work it out? They want to see your problem-solving process. So the first thing you do is you ask questions about the problem if you have any, right? Clarify the parameters, right? The range of inputs can have. Anything that's not clear, ask them, right? That shows that you have heard the question, that you're thinking critically about it, that you are engaged, right? And then when you start thinking of solutions, run them by your interview, right? So try not to go more than a couple of minutes without saying something out loud. Personally, like if I go for a day of interviews, I'm usually worse afterwards. I had a week once where I did 4 on-sites in 5 days, and for the 4th one, I was honestly worried that I wouldn't be able to talk because I had talked so much in the 3 previous interviews all day in front of whiteboards, explaining what I was about to do before I did it. Right? So tell them the solution that you're thinking of. Tell them, even if you don't have a fully formed solution, if you have like an idea of where you could go and maybe get a solution, say that out loud, right? That can be a cue for them to either A, nudge you gently away from a path that's not going to lead to anything productive, or B, give you a hint, or C, just confirm you're doing the right thing. So talk, right? Let the interviewer know what they're doing, because they're not there to just silently judge you. They're there to optimize the time that you have to learn more about you and to help you, work your way through the problem. No interviewer wants you to just stand there stumped for 45 minutes. They're not going to be like, yeah, I got it. Right? They're going to be like, wow, I just wasted 45 minutes of my life watching this person stare at a whiteboard. So give them something to work with. You may be surprised at how much help they will give you. Now, when it comes to coming up with a solution, the first one does not have to be perfect. You don't want to waste a lot of time standing there trying to come up with the best possible solution. Right? Like if there's solutions running through your head and you think of something, you're like, that would work, that's going to be too slow. Don't just discard it and look for something else. Right? Like tell the interviewer, like, hey, this is probably not the best way, but I have this idea for how I can do it. I explain it, right? Because usually they're going to want to see you get something down on the board to begin with, and then they can optimize from there. And the nice thing about getting something down on the board is that A, it shows them that at least you can come up with a solution to the problem, even if it's not the best one. And B, it just establishes some momentum, right? When you're standing there in front of the whiteboard at the very beginning, it's a nerve-wracking feeling, right? When you get that first question, and initially maybe you don't know if you can solve it, right? But you get a first solution out, even if it's not great, just getting the marker in your hand, writing something on the board, getting some code out, right? You've now proven to yourself, as well as the interviewer, that you can solve this problem. And that gets things moving. Once you're moving, it's easier to keep moving. There is a real psychological momentum to solving these problems. Now, once the solution is down, you're probably going to be asked about performance and about different trade-offs between different possible solutions. So know those trade-offs. The extent you need to know this is going to vary depending on the position you're applying for and the skill level they expect. But whatever your skill level, it never hurts to learn a little bit about performance analysis, right? To learn what makes code slow, what makes code fast. It's also really helpful to understand what other resources besides time your code is using. So things like memory, storage, network, if it's a problem that involves network communication. Because very frequently there may not be one correct solution to a problem. There may be multiple solutions, and one is better than the other in some situations, and one is better in the others. So you want to make sure that you can have an intelligent conversation with the interviewer about those trade-offs. So if they ask you, this is great, but what if you want a solution that uses less memory? You have somewhere to go from there. There's one more point here, which is the end of every technical interview. I think this is almost universal. Every place that I've ever interviewed, they give you the chance at the end to ask the interviewer any questions that you have for them. This is an extremely valuable resource that I think most people don't utilize. Because the interviewers that you're going to get for technical interviews are usually some of the least biased people that you will encounter at that company. The engineers who are interviewing you, especially if it's a bigger company, they will probably never see you again in their entire life. They have no vested interest in you accepting an offer. They're just someone who is doing their job, and they got an invite on their calendar to interview someone, fill out the interview feedback, and they're going back to their job. So if I'm interviewing you and you ask me what's the worst thing about my job, I'm going to tell you. I have no reason to lie to you or to try to get you to take that job if you don't want. So I think a lot of people at the end of the interview, in my role as an interviewer, they would ask me questions about me, about my team, about what I work on, even if it had nothing to do with what they would have been doing with the company. I don't know, I don't want to pass judgment. I don't know if those questions were from a place of sincere interest or if it was just a way of trying to ingratiate themselves with me. But I can promise you if it's the latter, it won't work. At this point, the interview is basically already over. The interviewer's probably formed an opinion of how you did. So now you use this time for you. If you have really important concerns about, say, work-life balance or schedule flexibility or about commute times from where you live, right? Ask those. So personally, when I'm in that phase of an interview, I'm the candidate. Usually I'll ask any particular question about the company, and then my stock go-to question after that is to ask the interviewer what is your favorite and your least favorite thing about working for this company. and you'll find that they always have an answer like canned and ready to go for the favorite thing about the company, but you'll very frequently catch them off guard by asking the least favorite thing. But you can get some really interesting answers out of it. Okay, so that's my condensed recommendations for doing technical interviews. And now we're going to take a non-break break, and I want to actually work through one of these somewhat collaboratively. So I realize that I can't have all of you come up to the whiteboard. So I'm just going to ask for some hands as we kind of work our way through this problem for suggestions as to how we can proceed. So this is an actual interview problem that I have used a whole lot of times, usually in phone screens, sometimes in on-site. So we're going to ask you to write a function called isPalindrome. For anyone who's not familiar, a palindrome is a word that is the same forwards and backwards. So for instance, like race car or taco cat. So we're going to ask you to write a function on the whiteboard that accepts a string as its one argument, and it returns true if that string is a palindrome, and it returns false if it is not a palindrome. So for instance, we pass race car into this function, we would return true. If we pass taco cat in, we would return true. Capybara, we would return false for, because while the capybara is objectively the best animal, its name is not a palindrome. Okay. Oh, just good. All right, so let's go ahead and work this out. I realize now that it's going to be very difficult for everyone to see this because there are a lot of you, and this is only so big. But let's just get started. So I'm going to try to write some code out here. I'm going to use JavaScript. I'm guessing that's what the most people in this room know. So let's just start out with our function signature, right?
Can you use darker?
I sure can. What I can't do is erase though. Is that an eraser or something?
That.
Nice. There we go. Boom. Get this out of it. All right, so in slightly darker letters this time, let's go ahead and write a function called isPalindrome. Convention, and we're going to go ahead and call our input str. Just for the sake of brevity. All right, so our goal is going to be to return true if this function, or sorry, true if this string is a palindrome, means it's the same forwards and backwards. We're going to return false if it's not a palindrome. So just to begin with, does anyone have an idea of like a general approach we might use to solve this problem?
So I would first make sure that it's in an array, like character by character, and then have two counts, one for the beginning, one for the end, and compare like I to string like minus I, whatever.
Okay, that's a great suggestion. So to kind of draw out what she's suggesting, what she's saying is we take the string, right, we turn it into an array of characters, right? So each character is now indexed in our array. 0, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. So what we can do now is we can have two index characters. Right? We point one at the beginning of the string, one at the end of the string. And then, if the one at this index is the same as the one at this index, we're okay and we continue. If it's not, right, if we ever found a mismatch, so for instance, if this one was an R and this one was a G, that would tell us that this was not a palindrome. So let's go ahead and start writing that. So another piece of advice I want to throw in here, when you are doing whiteboard coding in an interview, use descriptive variable names. Because we're going to go ahead and say var begin equals 0, and we're going to say var end equals, first of all, we're going to, I think we can just refer to strings as an array of objects. We can stir.length -1. All right, so I named these begin and end as opposed to like I and j. I highly recommend using descriptive variable names on the whiteboard. It takes up a little bit of extra space, but this is already an inherently confusing medium, right? You don't have any debugger here, you don't have syntax highlighting, you don't have a compiler. So anything that can help you keep the problem straight in your head is going to be a big bonus. I have watched a lot of candidates who are on the right track, who basically knew what they needed to do, but when it came to actually writing the code, they got derailed by their own variable names, because they had named the variable one thing at the beginning, and then later on they changed what that variable was doing. They didn't rename it, and then when they looked at it, even though they knew that it really should be the other thing, and they consciously thought about it, they would just see the name, the original name, and that would lodge in their head, and they would think about it the wrong way, right? So it's worth keeping the names of your variables in line with the idea that they actually represent. It will save you a lot of frustration, because otherwise you can end up in a situation where you know what you should be doing, but you're getting basically sabotaged by just your own naming conventions. So we've got a beginning and an end variable here. So beginning is starting at the beginning of the string, right? So I'm just going to draw a little representation of one of our test cases over here. And for the first test case, I'm actually going to use something that's not a palindrome. I'm going to use just A, B, C, A. Okay. So imagine we're using this string A, B, C, A, right? Beginning is pointing here, end is pointing here. So let's just go ahead and start out by saying we're going to use a while loop for this, because we're going to need to iterate through the string, right? So let's start by thinking about our stopping condition. We're going to be moving these pointers towards each other, right? Can anyone tell me what would be the point where we would stop this loop and we would say that we're finished?
Either closure or one, like whichever one starts bigger is
It's true.
You should know the length of the lane. You should know the lane.
Yes. So we've got, so I don't remember the string API exactly. We're going to say it has a dot length property with the length. And we can index the length, right? Yeah.
Well, end is greater than begin.
Yes, that's, yeah. Thank you. We're going to have to stop the answering. Okay, so yeah, basically, well, end is greater than begin is what we want, right? So when, as long as the end pointer is over here, we know that we still have a string to process. When we get to the center, they're going to cross over, right? So begin becomes greater than end and vice versa. That's when we know that we've checked every possible pair in the entire string. So that's going to be our stopping condition. So within the loop, we're going to need to check each individual pair of characters, progressively moving inwards. So, anyone tell me basically what we should do here, right? What do we check, and what do we do depending on the results we check? Sorry, I'll go take my button first. So what is the condition we're going to check for?
Yeah, string of begin. I guess we want to say, we're trying to decide if we want equal or not equal, but let's go equal. Equal. So then, you want to do something that for that thing for that. If that condition is false, that's done.
Okay, so what he's saying here is that if we find that the pair is equal, right, they're both the same thing here, then we're going to go ahead and move the pointers in. So we're going to say begin plus plus. And minus. Yeah. So you're saying else?
Well, yeah, so else return false.
Okay. So if they didn't match, right, we found a pair of letters that are not the same between the two strings, then we know that we have not found a palindrome. And we can just go ahead and return false. Okay. So there is essentially the meat of our while statement. And I'm going to go ahead, sort of our while loop. I'm just going to go ahead and terminate the while loop here because this is going to get us all the way through the string. So now the only question remaining is if we get through this entire loop and we have not found any mismatches, what do we do? Oh, I heard someone say it. Yeah. So if we get all the way through and we've not found any mismatches, right, this pair match, this pair match, then we're going to go ahead and return true. Okay. So this right here is a great first solution. It's not necessarily optimal, right? But, well, actually, this is, performance-wise, this is pretty much optimal for this problem. Yeah.
Just a potential edge case. So would you want to have n greater than or equal to the beginning to account for odd number of characters?
So an odd number of characters, it's a good question. An odd number of characters, they will eventually equal each other. And by definition, the two characters will equal. So then we'll just continue until the next point where they don't equal each other, and then it'll terminate. So it's not a necessary thing to do. It would save one cycle. Yeah. It
The
doesn't.
way it is, takes one second, right? Because as long as it's greater, and once it's equal, that's it.
Oh yeah, it's true. Let's see. Yeah.
So only one more step out of equal.
Yeah. So basically, we don't need to check them when they're equal to each other because we know that by definition, the two indices are the same. So are the characters. So this is, I mean, this is like optimal performance-wise. Does anyone have any idea for how we can maybe, I don't want to say clean up the code because it's not bad, but if we could reduce the amount of code slightly?
So that's what I wanted to think about, but besides just saying putting equals. If you do not equal at that test, then just return false, and you don't have to do, I think it will end up a little weird.
Yeah, so then we can just remove the else clause
Yeah.
and we can have this be the main body. Yep. So this is the kind of like minor kind of cleanup that a lot of times an interviewer will like to see if you can do after you've gotten the solution down. So I want to see first that you can do the problem, and then you can look at your code and see, is there any way that I can make this a little bit more readable, right? Is there anything that I've done that's unnecessary? So let me check the time and decide if we should do, let's put it after. Do we have any, like, do we have a significant number of questions yet? Or any questions?
I have so many close to the end.
Okay. Let's go ahead and do a little bit of an. All right. So when I use this as an interview question, I have 3 versions of it. Right. What we just did is the first version. The next version. Well, actually, this is the first and the second version. So this happens sometimes, right? Like I have multiple iterations of this problem. So usually people don't do this first. Usually they say reverse the string and compare it. So that's like the super basic first solution that I usually accept. Then I'll ask them to do this by saying, okay, can we do that without copying the string? And then if they get this, we have another harder version, which is, let's say that we don't just want palindrome words, we want palindrome phrases. So, for instance, there's this famous palindrome, right? A man, plan, canal, animal. Which, believe it or not, is actually the same forwards and backwards if you read it without any punctuation or spacing between the letters. So, this will, of course, fail our test, right? Because we have punctuation screwing up the arrangement. We have, different cases to letters. So the question I would ask now is there a way that we can modify this so that it would accept a phrase like the man planning canal animal? Does anyone have any idea what we might want to start doing to modify our code to accept those palindromic phrases? You could. So that's an option, right? One of the first things people will say if there's a problem is let's just strip out all the white space, all the punctuation, let's turn the whole thing to lowercase. I'm going to throw a curveball at you because we already have this nice constant number solution. I'm going to say that you can't allocate any new memory, which means that we have to take the string and we have to use it as it is.
Okay. So now you need another if statement. Okay. I don't want to say.
Good. Let's hear it. What would we put in the next if statement here?
Well, when you get to like string begin, if string begin,
Let's say string end here starts an exclamation. What do we do with that?
so you tell some
Okay. So I'm going to be honest. I have no idea if JavaScript has an is alphanumeric function. We're going to pretend that it does.
I was just thinking if you even get more right a separate little function.
You could if you have a lot of time. We don't. So
Yeah.
we're going to pretend that there's an
There
is
you go.
alpha function.
There's alpha, yeah.
Oh, right. Is
Well-
alpha, yeah. We don't want numbers.
No.
Which is a good thing to clarify with your interviewer before you start solving the problem. So yeah, we'll pretend there's an is alpha.
Would you do that in an interview? Like let's suppose that this thing exists that I can call,
Yeah.
like you just did?
So very frequently, like it may be the case that you're using a language, and very like my interview, I always have to pick a language. So it may be that later in the problem you have a development where you need something that's standard in other languages but is not available in the language that you're using here. So generally speaking, unless the interviewer is like a real sadist and they want to watch this person like write a dictionary or something, generally we'll just say, okay, you can pretend there's this library function that does something. And it's totally okay to be like, I assume there's a function that does this, right? Even if there is a function, you just can't remember the name. Like, we don't expect you to know every single function in every standard library. So
That was the question I was hoping to write down. It's like, I've never done whiteboarding. If I was doing it with coding, there's so many things I'd be looking up the whole time
Yeah.
that I'm coding. So how much do you expect the interviewee to actually
Yeah.
know code?
it really depends on the interviewer. Generally speaking, like, no one expects you to know like every method on an ordered dictionary type in your language. That being said, if you picked a language that you're using and like you don't know how to initialize an array in it, it's not a great way. Like, try not to be completely dependent on autocomplete. Like, try to know some basics, but like not knowing every detail is not the end of the world. And honestly, this is I think one of the strengths of the whiteboard format is that there's no compiler checking our work here. So if someone makes a minor like typo or Lido, or they use a slightly wrong name for a function, even if I know that it's wrong, I can just pretend that they did the right thing and keep moving, right? Like I don't have to grind the whole thing to a fault and be like, are you sure you got that function?
No.
Like, so yes, it's normal to kind of glide over some of those things.
Because this is actual code, it's not pseudocode.
Right, so it's not pseudocode. I do ask that people write real code, but it doesn't have to compile, right? It doesn't have to work. So yeah, like you're saying, we can test for Delma, and we are starting around a little bit long time, so I'm going to just pop that in there. So let's pretend now that we're inserting code right here. So we can do, for instance, if not is L1 stir of n. Any idea what we want to do in this case?
You're just
Right. Well, this is the n, so we can just do n minus minus. And we're just going to pretend for the sake of time to be the corresponding one from the beginning. And then what do we do? So, yeah, so when we have our test, is there anything we need to change about our test? Let me put it this way, right? So this moves to here, right? Now we're comparing lowercase a and capital A. We need to change the test to make those match.
Oh, that's a good point, because your is all just said whether it was or not. So we'll need to
both sides.
Yep, you got it. So we just two lower each one.
However you do that.
Yeah, so I think it's like a two lowercase or some stupid stuff. So basically we're just gonna lowercase each thing that we're comparing, and now the case doesn't matter. Unless you're using some really weird Unicode language, but pretend it's English text. Okay, so this basically works. There's one more gotcha here, which is what if, well, two things, right? What if this bumps one of the pointers too far past the other? And also, what if we have multiple punctuation points? So what if we started at this exclamation point, and then we move backwards one, and now we have another exclamation point? How do we deal with that?
So you do one.
Yeah, so while loop is kind of the obvious answer here, and then you just have to make sure that you check if the two pointers crossed while you're doing a while loop. Another really neat trick, if you ever happen to encounter this in real life, you can just throw a break statement here. And then we're just going to go back to the top of the loop, use this condition again, and then if necessary, we'll do this again. Or we'll do it again until we get comparable characters. Cool, so I spent a little more time on that. Oh wait, this goes to 8:30, not 8:30.
Yeah.
Oh, we got all the time in the world. Cool, panic is canceled. Let's go ahead and move on. Alright, so I realize doing this with me is not the same experience as doing an actual whiteboard interview, right? For one, the stakes were lower, for two, it was a little bit of collaborative effort. But I hope that gave you a little bit of a feel for the process, right? I should have been a little bit more explicit about feeling out the conditions at the beginning. I highly recommend, right? So like if you're given this problem for real, here's some things that you should ask the interviewer. Because it's JavaScript, you should say, is stir guaranteed to be a string? Could it be null? Could it be undefined? Could it be an object or a number or some random thing? And if so, what should I do in that case? If it was me interviewing you, I would say, no, it's always going to be a string, because I don't want to spend 5 minutes dealing with edge cases. But the fact that you asked that question demonstrates an understanding of the types of SQL language. It shows that you understand the problem, things that could potentially be wrong with it. You also might want to ask, right, when I give you that first version, it's worth asking, like, should we do a case-sensitive comparison or not case-sensitive? And you might ask from the beginning, what do we do if there are non-alphabetical characters in the string, right? Like, if you ask up front what to do with this kind of string, even if I'm not asking you to handle this yet, the fact that you thought of it as something you might have to handle is a positive indicator for your ability to analyze the problem and foresee potential issues. Also, anytime that they are asking you to operate in some kind of data structure, it's worth asking if it can be like really, really, really huge. Like, do I need to worry about Stack Overflows or whether I'm going to be able to copy this? Oh, another thing to ask them, anytime they pass you in an object or linked list or any kind of data structure that's a reference rather than a value, ask them if you are allowed to modify the thing that was passed in. Because a lot of times they'll ask you to optimize for memory, and you can do some clever things by reusing the memory that they already passed in. So things to keep in mind, right? Like try to get your conditions ahead of time, then try to come up with a workable first solution. Ask the interviewer how they feel about it, and go from there. Take their cues and try to keep moving until you got something that works. All right. So there's one last step to this process. And I want to point out, by the way, like we just did the technical interview section of this process, right? That was like probably more than halfway through the talk, right? So there's a lot to the job hunting process that comes before and also that comes after those technical interviews. So when you're preparing, don't strictly think about technical interviews. Right? There is also all of this other stuff, which it helps a lot to be familiar with and know what to expect. So, once you finish technical interview, there are basically two outcomes. In the overwhelming majority of cases, there are two outcomes, which is that they will either choose not to give you an offer or to make an offer. There is a very rare third possibility, which is that they might ask you for another phone screen or even to come back and do more on site. I have seen that happen maybe 2 or 3 times out of the 200 and some odd people that I've been involved in the hiring process for. It's extremely rare, but if they really think they might want you, but they just weren't quite sure from that interview process you just went through, they might ask you to do another one. But generally speaking, this is going to be the part of the process where you get an offer or you don't. Yeah.
This is a good question about whiteboards since we're still on that topic a little bit. For language choice, if they do you get to choose your most comfortable, or do they usually kind of spell that out for you?
This totally depends on the company you're applying to. So, big tech companies, very frequently, they're hiring just kind of generalist engineers, and they will let you pick your language. If I'm interviewing you at when I was interviewing Facebook, not only would I let you pick your language, I would let you switch in between problems if you wanted to. That was fine by me if you recognize that one language is better suited to a problem than another, switch it up. If you're applying frequently to smaller companies or startups where they have more specific job requirements, one thing that they really want you to do, they may very well ask you we want you to do JavaScript, or we want you to use PHP. Right? So this is something that if you're concerned about it, you should know about it beforehand. So big companies that kind of have it together, they will usually send a prep guide where they will tell you, you're allowed to take the language you choose. Or sometimes they'll tell you, here are 4 languages that our interviewers are familiar with, you're allowed to use any one of these. If they don't explicitly tell you one way or the other, ask your recruiter before you show up. Because they might like you, but they also might be no, this is a JavaScript position, you have to do JavaScript. The other exception is that if you're doing a very specific platform that has one language tightly bound to it, if you're doing a user interface engineering interview, they will very frequently expect you to use JavaScript, just because the vagaries of JavaScript are a lot of that job. Same thing if you're applying to an iOS position, they're going to want you to know Objective-C. It's kind of to be expected. But yeah, it can vary. Ask your recruiter. Just make sure you know ahead of time what you're getting yourself into. So let's say that you had the interview, they went well. Now you've got offers. Maybe you even got multiple offers, right? You now have 2 tasks ahead of you. The first is, if you have multiple offers, deciding which one you're going to, turn into an actual job. The second one is, whichever offer you accept, trying to make it the best offer that you can possibly get. And ideally, those two should be reversed, right? So first, you want to negotiate the various offers you have, and then you pick the best one. So first rule of negotiation, don't be afraid to ask for more. You would be shocked how many companies, even if you have no leverage, will just give you more money if you ask for it. It happens, right? Very frequently, they make an initial offer that is significantly below what they're prepared to pay for the position. So even if they don't really need to, now keep in mind that recruiters usually work on commission, or at least work significantly on commission. So a lot of times the recruiter will be very happy to just throw a little more money at you if they know that they'll get you some. Because they get the commission, they get an extra number on the board for them. It's great. So even if you don't think that you're in a good position to ask for more money, just ask. Don't be rude or super weird about it, but just be hey, and always, the compliment sandwich thing is so cliche, but lead with a compliment, right? Hey, this is a really strong offer. I'm kind of leaning towards it. I was wondering, would it be possible for you to offer any more compensation to help, make the decision a little bit easier on you? Now, when it comes to actually comparing offers, try to put a personal value on the things that don't have cash value, right? So obviously, every offer is going to have a salary attached to it. Those are very easy to compare to each other. You just look at which number is bigger. But they also have things like equity, right, which has an uncertain value depending on the company's stock price. There are benefits, which mean different things to different people, right? maybe you're young enough to still be on your parents' health care, and the health insurance isn't that important to you. Or maybe you don't have kids, you don't plan to have kids, and you don't care that much about maternity or paternity leave. On the other hand, maybe you do want to have kids, and that 3-month paternity or maternity leave is a huge deal, right? So I think most of us, if we're being honest, we have like dollar value that will make us budge over certain benefits, certain working conditions. Try to be brutally honest with yourself and put numbers on those things. Now, you don't necessarily have to write down the numbers and then accept whichever one comes out the highest, but it should at least inform your thinking, right? Try to determine what each aspect of that offer is worth to you personally as compared to salary and the things that are offered by the other companies. Okay. Less desirable offers are not worthless. You can use them for leverage. What I mean here is there are a lot of times where you may be in the process with a company, and there comes some point where you decide that you don't want to work for that company. Maybe you find out something about the company culture that's really unsettling to you. Maybe you don't like the commute. Maybe you're 3 hours into your 6 hours of whiteboard reviews, and every person who's come in has been a complete jackass, and you would never in your life want to work with these people. It's going to be really tempting at that point to tell the recruiter, buzz off, I'm not interested, don't even make me an offer. Or to not even show up the next day. I recommend not doing that for this reason. If you get a good offer from a company that you have no intention of working for, you know that you're not going to work for that company. But other people don't know that. All right, so if you have multiple offers, and one of them is a total no-go for you, but it's really, it's got great numbers on it, if you show that offer to another company that is also making you an offer, the only thing they know is that another company is offering you a lot of money. They don't know that you will never accept that. They just know that it's there, that it's something they have to compete with. So even if an offer is not necessarily valuable to you as a potential job, it can still be very valuable to you just to harvest that offer, to use it for leverage in negotiations with the companies that you do want to work with. And also, it is possible that, sorry, you missed the, no, just go ahead and ask the question.
Okay, sorry, that's fine, I can pass it to Catherine.
Okay. Yeah, so the opposite can happen too, right? So like the current job that I'm actually at, I thought that I was going to be harvesting that offer to use as leverage against the company I really wanted to work for. And then when I actually saw that offer, I was like, oh crap, I can't do this now. So you may be surprised if it happens. But get all the offers you can. The more offers you have, the better offers you have, the more it will compel each company to try to offer you the best compensation they possibly can. When it comes to negotiating your specific compensation, it will help you a lot to be flexible. And what I mean by that is there are different ways that you can be paid, right? The basic categories are going to be, just in terms of cash, not in terms of benefits, the basic categories are going to be cash salary, bonuses, equity, which usually comes in the form of either stock options or restricted stock units. Basically a way for the company to give you the ability to make some money off of their stock. And what's the other one? Signing bonuses, all right? Now, cash is cash, but for whatever varying reasons, very frequently the person who's negotiating with you, they may have a greater or a lesser ability to offer one or the other of these things. So, for instance, a lot of the companies, they have hard limits on their salary bands for a position. Like they will not pay you more than a certain amount. That doesn't mean you can't get more money, right? They might be willing to offer equity. They also might be willing to offer a signing bonus. Companies love throwing signing bonuses at people to get them to sign because it's a one-time payment for them. It doesn't add to the payroll expense. And it's a great way to get a candidate to sign on the dotted line. Now, the thing about a signing bonus is it is a one-time payment, so it's not really adding to your salary. But it also kind of is, right? Because you're going to work for that company for a finite amount of time. So if you want to compare a signing bonus to extra salary, just figure how many years you think you're going to stay at that job, divide the signing bonus by that number, and that's basically the extra salary you're getting. except you get prepaid, which is great. So yeah, if you're able to accept compensation in whichever way that they're going to offer it, it will help you get more. Whereas if you're very, very inflexible, right? If you're like, this has to be cash salary, or I really need a ton of equity, right? You may find yourself running into limitations of someone on the other side of the table who really wants to give you more, but they just can't do it the particular way that you're asking for. And the other thing is that they won't necessarily tell you that, so always suggest it, right? If a recruiter is like, look, I went back to them and they told me there's no way that they can raise the salary, you can suggest, well, they give me more equity, or they raise my bonus target, and they get a signing bonus, right? Like what can we do to make this work? All right, and there's one more thing that I want to cover before I wrap this up. And this is something that I think that all of us know consciously, but we don't necessarily take to heart as much as we should. And that's that when you're negotiating an offer, the only person's interests you should be representing are your own, right? So obviously, if you're trying to get a job at a company, you and the company have a shared interest in you getting that job. However, you have very different interests when it comes to negotiation, right? You want to make more money, the company wants to save it. And it's vitally important for you to remember, the company has people that they pay to represent their interests, right? They have lawyers, they have recruiters, they have hiring managers, they have accountants with access to market data that you do not have access to. They are well represented in this process. You only have yourself. So make sure that when you're negotiating, you're only representing yourself. You're not doing their work for them. And when I say doing their work for them, I mean things like getting an offer and looking at it and saying, oh my God, this salary number is huge. I don't deserve this. I could not reasonably ask for more money than this, right? That's never true. The company knows what they think you're worth. Not only will they not offer you more than that, they will probably not offer you anywhere near that much. They're going to leave themselves some room to negotiate. So don't look at an offer and think, I don't deserve more than this, because you do. You deserve as much as you can get them to pay you for the effort that you're going to put into that job. And at this point, keep in mind that you've put a lot of effort into this process, right? You know, you've spent your time and your effort crafting your resume, applying to this company, right? Talking to recruiters and hiring managers, going to phone screens. You went to on-site interviews. On-site interviews are always an ordeal. You know, you've quite possibly drained your PTO or your sick balance of your existing job. Quite possibly you've gotten up early in the morning, dressed up more than you usually would, gone to find some office park in the middle of nowhere, hunted for parking, right? And then you went into a room where a bunch of people you don't know came in and grilled you for an hour at a time about whatever they think is the most important. You did not do all of that to help this company meet their Q1 hiring goals. You did it to provide for yourself, provide for your family if you have one. So, this is your chance, right? This is the opportunity that you have until the next time you're in the job market to set the trajectory of your financial future for the near term. I think we all have financial goals, right? A lot of things that we would do if we had a little bit more money. So this is your chance. This is your chance to determine if you're going to make an extra payment on the house this year, if you're going to take the kids on that vacation they want to go to. Right? This is your chance to determine if, 10 years from now you're going to be able to retire a year early. So take it seriously, right? Represent yourself and be honest about it, and be polite, and be professional, but also be completely unashamed about the fact that you're here to negotiate the best deal that you can for what you're bringing to this company. And with that, I'm going to go to Q&A. We got some questions.
Thank goodness, I'm getting a lot of cards. Okay, so we're going to start off with the ones that we're kind of going back to the most recent topic to start with. When you're trying to do that, I have an offer, trying to kind of get someone to pony up another offer. What type of proof do you have to give? Do they want something in writing? Do they take it verbally from you?
Yeah, so this so there's a certain foundation of trust in this whole process. There are certain things that you just don't expect people to lie about, right? If you put something on a resume as work experience, they expect you to have that experience. In my experience, anytime that I have verbally recited an offer that I got from another company, the recruiters have always just taken that, written it down, and assumed that it's true. Now, if you tell them something that's completely ridiculous, right? If you're like, oh, I've got $1 million offer from Google right now, they might call BS on that. But if the things that you're telling them are true and they are within the bounds of reason, they're probably not going to like demand proof. In fact, if they do demand proof, I would almost see that as a red flag, right? Because that's one of those like professional courtesy things. I would question why this person doesn't trust me to tell them their offers that I have.
Okay. All right. Going back towards kind of the application process, is there a general number of applications to phone screens to on-site to offers? For example, for every 100 applications, you get 10 phone calls. For every 10 phone calls, you get 5 on-sites. And down the line.
Yeah, so that's going to vary person to person, right? And it depends ultimately on the strength of your resume, the strength of your applications. I really can't give like a general guideline. I could tell you mine, but my numbers won't apply to any other random person. The thing that I will tell you is that you can improve those numbers by putting effort into quality over quantity in the applications. So I will tell you right now, if you just scan your resume out to every open job for a software engineer you find, your response rate will be very low. If you pick out companies that you think you're a good match for, and you really put effort into catering that application and that cover letter to specific companies, you could potentially get a very high response rate. And it's also like I said, I kind of cheated a little bit by getting Google Summer Code on my resume. So I get a very high response rate just from having like those keywords on my resume. If you don't have those keywords you're looking for, it might be hard to get a response back. But at the end of the day, all you can do is make the best application you can, and focus on making each one count. Because I think that's going to be overall bang for the buck. That's going to be your best strategy.
I'll come back to that. Okay, they keep coming in. Cut me off, people. Cut me off. What is the best practice to address a hiring person? Is it okay to do a reasonable search to send a resume to someone that's not a hiring manager, like maybe senior dev, like you find them on LinkedIn or things like that?
Yeah. Okay. So that's a little bit of a personal thing. So personally, I get a little bit creeped out if I find out the candidates know too much about me. I realize it's rational for them to find out things about me, but it still weirds me out a little bit. You may very well be able to find people who will just refer you for the sake of maybe getting a referral benefit. However, be very careful, because if people at the company find out that you're doing that, it could create a bad impression. Like as a general rule, people aren't really supposed to refer people they don't know. I mean, for me, I've never had this happen to me, but if someone just randomly sent me a resume, I would probably just assume that they accidentally sent the wrong email address, and I would forward it to a recruiter. But honestly, this is like, there's no procedure around that. It totally depends on who you end up sending this to.
What if you, I'm sorry, that's my question. What if you also attach like a cover letter? Like if you knew someone specifically you wanted to work for because you had like a shared interest or project or something?
Okay, yeah. So if it's more of a personal communication about like a shared interest or something, it could work. I mean, it probably won't backfire. It could, but it probably won't. It's such a hard thing for me to like. I mean, I'm just spitballing here. I really have no idea what would happen. I think if someone contacted me about something I was passionate about, and like, oh, by the way, I mean, they'll probably just forward them to a recruiter with like maybe a friendly note. I mean, I don't have a whole lot of power in this process, but it might help.
All right, so every non-software dev job I've interviewed for asked a wide range of questions. Will these be very specific on problems with code, or will there often be non-code questions, for instance, about other skills?
Yes, good question. Okay, so I really should have covered this, and I didn't. Typically, so the type of interview that I just did, let's call this a coding interview. This is usually going to be, I'll typically have 2 or 3 of these at an interview for a tech company. So like at Facebook, the norm was 2 of these, one of kind of more like a general, everyone calls it culture fit interviews. I hate that word. But the basic idea is they're trying to feel you out for, will you fit in at the company. And then the other type of interview that you will typically be given is what we call a systems design interview. These are very prominent, very common to bigger tech companies. Typically, they're from more experienced candidates. So, like Facebook subjected me to one when I was a fresh grad that I somehow survived. Well, I shouldn't have. Nowadays, they don't give them to new grads, but for a lot of more experienced positions, they will ask you to do. It's hard to fully explain a systems design interview. It's basically what it sounds like, right? They're asking you to design a system. So they're going to ask you to solve a technical problem, but not so much with code. They're going to ask you a higher level problem, like imagine that you need to design a service that, I'm just going to make something up here. Imagine we want to design a cloud service for security cameras. And they're going to ask you, how are you build that, right? Now, obviously, you can't sit down and just start writing out like years worth of work and code on a whiteboard. So what you're going to do is you're going to talk about the general subsystems that you would build, components that you would use, technologies that you might want to use. They're going to ask you about the trade-offs, the different ways that you can design the system, why you might want to do it one way or the other. And probably you'll use a whiteboard, but you'll use it more for diagramming. Right? You'll say like, oh, I would have a cache here, right, in front of this data store, which I would have redundant. And by the way, the secret sauce for like a shockingly large number of those system design questions is consistent hashing. It's honestly almost unbelievable how much this comes up in system design interviews. But if you think that you may end up getting one, just do yourself a favor and go learn what consistent hashing is. It's important, I promise. But yeah, so there are different. Sorry, go ahead.
Do you mean like checksums?
No, so consistent hashing is, I'm pretty sure that's the word. Someone Google it for me and make sure that I'm actually describing. Basically, it's a way to hash things, to put them in hash tables that are distributed across a lot of nodes, where if you remove or add a node, it doesn't screw up the balance of the whole thing. And because a lot of systems design questions have a lot of, like, caching tends to be a very important topic in them. If you know about consistent hashing, and you know, like, you don't have to know the algorithms, but if you know, like, the names of them and what they do, it will generally work for you. Did I get it right? Is that the name?
I don't understand what it's saying. It says in computer science, consistent hashing is a study of hashing.
Yeah, that's it. It will take more reading to figure out what it is. I definitely started to screen for probably half an hour before it clicked for me, but just learn about it if you're going to be doing system design interviews. I promise it will. Or it might not, but hopefully it will help.
That's actually a good intro to the next questions. We
Okay.
kind of put three of them together because they're around confidence and feeling prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any thoughts on idea of feeling prepared for a job, about importance of stepping outside your comfort zone, and should you be confident in technology before you put it on your resume, and kind of that fake it, like the meaning behind fake it till you make it?
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, first of all, like, it's kind of a wide-ranging question. I will say that not being confident will never help, right? In general, so let me talk about this from my perspective as an interviewer. I'll tell you right away. The first thing that I do when I interview someone is I try to put them at ease and I try to make them feel good about their own abilities. So my little secret is that when I do a technical interview, I always do a little question up front. So, for instance, I like to ask, tell me about your favorite thing you've ever built, or tell me about a really hard problem you solved. They tell me the answer to that, right? I listen, but I don't write it down. Unless they say something outlandishly inappropriate, that's not going to make feedback. My goal is to get them talking and to get them talking about themselves. Right? Like, I want you thinking about the time that you did something really great. I want you thinking about memories that make you feel like you know what you're doing, that make you feel like you can do this. Because my goal as an interview isn't to find reasons not to hire you, it's to find reasons to hire you, right? So I can tell you right now that not being confident will never help you, right? Even if it's not completely merited confidence, like thinking that you know what you're doing, like not being overconfident, but feeling that you can do it, right? Feeling generally positive about your abilities is going to make you give a better performance, right? Because stress never helps anything. I mean, maybe for some people, I don't know. I've heard of that under pressure. I've never experienced it. Personally, I want to feel warm and fuzzy and capable at all times. So I think that it is good to feel strong in your abilities, and it's good to go into the interview thinking, I've got a shot at this. Even if you blew the last one, think, I can pull it out this one, right? Now, when it comes to putting things on your resume that you may be more or less confident with, it really depends. So I'll be honest, I have things on my resume that I haven't touched in like the better part of a decade, which if you start asking me detailed questions about, I couldn't answer. I'll probably trim those soon to make room for some more work experience, but you know, the skills section of a resume is very like wishy-washy in a way. If a technology is on there, you should definitely be prepared to talk about what it is, to have some kind of intelligent conversation about it. You don't have to be an expert in anything. I think expecting someone to be an expert in every single thing that they list in their skills section is an unrealistic expectation. That doesn't mean people may not have that expectation, but they shouldn't. I've never had someone just like off the cuff be like, hey, I see Haskell on your resume here. Can you like explain monads to me? It's never happened. So it could, but it probably won't. I would say if you feel reasonably familiar with something, if it's something you've used, totally feel free to put it on. And if it comes down to it and they expect you to know what you don't, just be honest. Be like, look, I used this a while ago, but to be perfectly honest, I'm not super fresh with it.
Okay. So is it okay if you're short on the skill set to say that you can Google it, you can research it, Stack Overflow, etc.?
Yes. So this is a good question. Okay, so on the one hand, you can definitely say that. It doesn't count for a lot, right? It's kind of assumed that you can research things. However, so let's say that I put a question in front of you and I use a data structure that you just are not familiar with, right? At that point, I don't necessarily care that you can look it up, but I also don't necessarily care that you don't know a specific thing, right? Like it's okay to just say, this is something that I'm just completely unfamiliar with. And usually what I'll do there is that I'm not going to like dig you for it. I'm just going to pick something else to move on to. Right? We all have holes in our knowledge. So definitely another question was, is it okay to say that you would Google it or Stack Overflow it? Like, it's not really okay or not okay about it. You can say it if you want. The interviewer may or may not care. It probably doesn't hurt. Just be like, look, I honestly don't know this. I would look it up if I had to.
You think you get points if you ask them what it is, like, no, what's that, and show interest in kind of what they ask you?
Subliminally, maybe. Yeah. And it's hard to say what's really influencing people, right? Even if you're consciously thinking about it. But, like, I will say that if you show interest in like a weird niche language that I enjoy, I would definitely, I won't just automatically do a high recommendation, but I want to automatically do a high recommendation. But yeah, I think the root of the question is less about that specific tactic and more about just the fact that it should be okay to not know everything. Whether it is okay to not know everything or not is a function of the place that you're applying to and how healthy their hiring system is. Because once again, everyone does things differently. But in general, you shouldn't be afraid to say, listen, I don't know about this at all. I'm sorry, when you do something different, I looked it up when I had to. What will not generally help is trying to pretend that you know about something and then completely have no idea what you're doing and you start trying to write code. So, if nothing else, honesty is generally the best policy.
Okay. Sticking along with kind of knowledge, how much does an employer expect of a developer on their first job?
This is going to totally depend on the company. So, some companies, they only want to hire CS grads who they expect to have a certain level of theoretical knowledge. Some companies are willing to take someone who barely knows how to code and expect they're going to raise them up. If you're in a position where you're worried about whether you have the skill set that you need to get kind of in the door of the company, it doesn't hurt to kind of seek out the ones that are known for mentoring new developers. Unfortunately, there are fewer of those than there probably should be, but they do exist. And the other thing is that you might also be underestimating your own skill set. So consider applying the things that you may not think that you have the skill set for, but you may in fact be able to get into. Because the big thing is that honestly, like your first job is going to be an unbelievable educational experience. You're going to learn just a ton about not just building software, but working with other people to build software. So yeah, like try to get into somewhere where they're willing to take people without the kind of traditional CS background, if that's what you have to do. I feel like I'm rambling here, but yes, the answer is yes or no. Some places they will be okay with. Oh no, it wasn't this question. It was how much. So the answer is it varies, right? Some places expect very little beginning knowledge. Some places expect a lot. Some places they expect they're hiring people who have like already had internships and they already have experience in internships. I will say that kind of the common denominator is that they will probably want you to be able to code. Right? Very few companies are going to hire. Well, that's not true. You may get hired for a different role and learn to code at that job and then switch roles. But if they are hiring for the developer role, they will probably expect you to at least be able to code.
Can I add something on that? If you are a new developer, something that you can ask as one of your questions is, do you have a mentor system? Like, how do you help your developers learn? Do you have pair programming or anything like that? Like, kind of lead them that way to see like what type of feel you get from them, and if they're just a drop you and you got to figure it out, or if they do have some type of system.
Very good.
It would never reflect poorly if you ask. Well, I was thinking specifically in work hard.
I mean, some people are jerks, but
Yeah.
no reasonable person can know that. I think that acknowledging where you're at and where you want to go should generally be viewed as a positive.
All right, so we're gonna go back to the interview process a little bit. When you're referring to the company during an interview, are you referring to as "I'd like you" or "I like how they do this"? Like, what would your standard be
Like
on?
you versus, that was my question. You versus they.
Oh,
Like if I'm
yeah.
talking to a developer or a hiring manager, sometimes I say the company name so much that I'm like, should I say, I like how you do these things, or I like how they do these things?
Oh, okay. You're talking about pronoun use. I would refer to the company as you probably, but I also wouldn't put that much thought into it. I think write what comes natural to you. I tend to think, and it also depends, right? Like if you're talking about the company as an entity, I would probably refer to it as you, but if you're talking about it as a group of people, right? For instance, talking about like company culture or events, then it might make more sense to say, how do you, I would say y'all, but that's probably how I feel.
Do not put y'all in your letters. If I catch that, you're in trouble. I
just
say it a
saying-
lot, but don't put it in your letters.
I'm just saying, English lacks a good second person.
Yeah.
So, oh yeah, but they would probably be weird because they is like an external party to the conversation. So probably focus on you, or you can say y'all.
As long as I don't review that letter.
Yeah.
All right, so going back to kind of salary requirements, how much should you dig your heels in about your salary requirements? Can you lose the offer by simply holding your ground? And is there a good way to do salary adjustments on the spot when you apply across multiple states? Someone might have to clarify that one for me.
I think we're going to talk about regional salary differences.
Yeah, because like, say here in Florida, as you said earlier, a lot of this infrastructure is consolidated in California, where obviously you have these different cost of living requirements. And I often have, like, when I'm talking to recruiters, I find this a little irritating. It's like, the first question they ask me is, what's your salary expectation? It's like, well, I need to look at the specific region. I need to go through Glassdoor and make all these assumptions about this. And I also don't want to tell you because I want to get to the top of the spot.
Correct, right. So the two sides to that are one, like do your research ahead of time. I would try to know like where I'm looking at and move for this job. And try to do some calculation based on that, right? So like, I'll be honest, like, when the Facebook recruiter called me with my first real job offer, they told me it would be $90,000 a year, and I thought I was going to be rich. I lived in Bradenton, Florida my entire life, except for Orlando for college, right? I had no idea what it costs to live in California, particularly the Bay Area. So definitely try to find that out beforehand. It was super amusing when I called a realtor and asked them to go show us houses.
Yeah.
Not
$1
happening. But yeah, definitely ask. As far as like, but like you said, it's best not to name the number first. Like it's like the golden rule of negotiation, right? The first person to name the number loses. If you name a salary requirement, you can be sure that you're not going to go above it. If they had a higher number in mind and you just quoted a lower one, you're getting your requirement. As far as digging your heels goes, you know, like the saying "it's just business" should apply absolutely to a business. The key is be polite, right? Like obviously you can be a jerk about it. If you do that, you might lose an offer. But if you're just polite and you're like, listen, I appreciate this offer, but I just can't make this work at this salary, then one of two things are going to happen. Either they're going to say, okay, we can do it, or they're going to say, I'm sorry, I don't think we can make a deal. And at that point, like if you would claim that this was an absolute requirement and then you want to go back on it, at that point, I mean, I would guess they would probably still accept, but they might not. So be careful about putting things in too concrete terms. Like I usually try to frame it as making it easier to accept this offer for me if you can do this. Yeah, I got to add on to this.
Maybe a quick one, 'cause I was wondering in a counter offer, how to gauge that, like percentage wise, or like obviously if they offer you X, you're not gonna ask for 2X.
Yeah,
Right.
I usually, it depends, right? So if I have other offers, I'll figure like, well, how much higher does this company have to go to make it worth it to me? And a lot of times, I don't even put numbers out when I ask them, right? So like my last one, so the job I'm at right now, right, I did not really have any business asking for more money because they were by far the highest offer. But I had a different offer that started vesting in stock earlier than this one did. So I was just like, listen, this is a great offer. However, your stock doesn't start vesting for a year. And this other company is going to start vesting right away. Is there anything you can do to kind of help me, soften that immediate cash flow loss? And they threw a sign bonus, right? And I didn't ask them for a specific amount. I just let them offer how much they thought it would take to get my signature.
You can ask for more without saying how much.
Right, like just say, listen, and try to frame it in terms of like what the other companies are offering. Like, well, I have this offer from such and such company. Do you think that you could maybe go a little bit higher to make it, to make this an easier decision?
For that final interview after the off, I mean, is it ever the case where you leave the room without having that resolved? Like, can you get me something higher? I really need such and such. And you say, well, we'll think about it and we'll let you know. Like, I don't think you shouldn't leave the room without a number for the project.
I've never gotten an offer. Typically, the people who interview you, they're going to submit feedback. And very frequently, they will be late with their feedback because random engineers get hold of this. So it's not uncommon for engineers to take a couple of days to submit their feedback. I mean, I interviewed with Facebook. One of my interviewers didn't fill out his feedback and they went to a conference the next week. That was nerve-wracking. But typically, you can expect at least a couple of days before they potentially come back to an offer. So feedback has to be collected. Hiring manager or someone has to look it all over and make the hiring decision, and then they're going to craft an offer and send it to you. So generally speaking, the way getting the offer actually works is the recruiter will email you and they'll say, they usually won't like outright tell you that you got an offer, but they'll send you like a really positive sounding email and ask you to talk on the phone. And then when you call them, they'll be like, good news, we got an offer for you, and this is the offer. And then from there, they're not generally expecting you to make a decision right away. Right, this is the part where they will ask you if you have an offer from another company, companies. Actually, they tend to be sneaky. They'll ask you if you have other offers before they present the offer, in which case they're going to press you for details about them. Try to politely avoid that if you can, because you want to get their numbers down before they avoid the other numbers. And then they will also typically, very frequently, give you a deadline. That's called an exploding offer. They want to basically put time pressure on you. Typically, it's like 1 to 2 weeks they'll give you. However, if you're like still in the process of another company, there's a good chance that like most companies, within reason, they're not going to lose a candidate over them making a decision 2 days later. The deadlines are usually kind of arbitrary, and they're just there to try to force you. Sometimes some companies are really strict about them. I've heard a couple of high-profile tech companies that they're like on the dotted line and they will not go over it, but a lot of them are sometimes. But yeah, the long form answer there is you don't get the offer in the room. Like you're going to have some space to make a decision and talk to other recruiters and then come back to them with either a decision or well I got these offers and you do something better. And then you generally talk to a recruiter, but he doesn't have any power to do anything for you themselves. So typically they're going to take what you say and they're going to go back to a hiring manager or someone. And they're going to find out if they can change the offer. And they'll call you once they find out.
So if you go high and they go low and you separate, then you're not really hurting your chances. They'll likely just come back and then, well, we can't give you that number.
Right.
But if you still want it, we can go low. They won't just say like, I'm sorry, not going to work. You asked for too many.
Right, unless you were like a jerk about it, like I can absolutely not work here unless you give me $500 grand salary. Then they're probably going to say, well, sorry, we can't do that. Yeah.
You mentioned in your answer that you generally avoid telling them how much the other company. How do you politely avoid that?
It's hard, honestly. Like usually I don't get away with it, but and I mean realistically, like they have that offer on a piece of paper. They're probably not going to like change it on the fly if they hear a lower number. But I kind of feel like it's better safe than sorry. Like I would rather hear the number from them before they hear it. It's more of a paranoia thing, realistically. So.
All right, we're at 8:23, so I'm gonna keep us moving.
All right,
So I
I'll
got
try to be a little.
a lot of cards. When you're interviewing, how much scrutiny, skepticism did you pay attention to career breaks, sabbaticals, etc.? Did you or would you worry about skill deterioration?
Okay, so this is something I can't answer because I've never been. So they're generally separated roles in the hiring processes, right? My role was always an interviewer, where I would interview the person and I would say, I think you should or should not hire them with this and this. Then there's another generally committee of people who take that very feedback and they're responsible for actually determining if they make an offer. So those would be the people who could better answer that. I unfortunately don't have a ton of insight into their thought processes. I think the general answer is that breaks are okay, but you should have a good explanation for them. And that's just what I've heard. That's not first-hand experience.
Your pros, cons, considerations about recruiters or professional staffing agencies.
Good question. I've been approached by agency recruiters. I've never actually worked with them. No one has ever brought me a position of what I wanted to go for. I've heard nightmare stories about them like changing resumes. I've also heard stories of people getting jobs they love through agency recruiters, but it's honestly not something that I can really speak to.
All right. Do hiring managers actually call previous employers and references? Are there any specific or general things allowed or not allowed to ask?
Sure. So generally speaking, they will check your references. They will at least make the first and as far as not allowed to ask, I mean, obviously it is like illegal for them to ask, outright discriminatory questions. That being said, generally speaking, most companies nowadays have what's called a neutral reference policy. Generally speaking, if you call someone who is a reference, and you say, hey, Robbie Beaver, a reference, you said you worked here, all they're going to say is, yes, you worked here for this time. Any company with like an HR and a legal department, they will very rarely say specific things about you you to a potential future employer, because they don't want to run the risk of if they say anything negative and you find out they said anything negative, you coming after them before they have to do it. So most companies that have like some structure to them and like HR people to tell them, hey, you have to be careful here, they're just going to say, yes, they worked here for this time period. That being said, like, especially if it's a smaller company where, you know, the boss doesn't have HR people to tell them you can't do that, like, they might give actual specific good or bad feedback. So it varies, but most companies, they're just going to call, they're just going to find that you did work there, and that's going to be about it.
What would be the best way to apply for different positions at the same company? Any considerations? Is it okay to apply multiple times? Would there be a system that would indicate you've previously been rejected?
Okay, so 2 questions there, both good. As far as multiple positions in the same company goes, you could. My experience has been that generally, if your resume gets to a human, you're going to become kind of the responsibility of a recruiter. And that recruiter can quite possibly put you in for different positions, right? Like, my first job at Facebook, the position I applied for, I was ludicrously unqualified for. But my resume ended up in the hands of a recruiter, and he sent me over to the undergrad recruiting pipeline, and I ended up getting a different job. So mostly you're just trying to make contact. Sometimes the companies on their websites will actually say, like, you know, apply for no more than 2 or 3 positions. It just varies. As far as reapplying goes, generally speaking, it's totally fine to reapply. They will definitely have records from the previous interviews if they have any kind of system at all in place. However, the fact that you did not get an offer before is not necessarily a negative signal. So let's say that you make it to an on-site with a company and you don't get an offer, right? Typically they have a mandatory wait period before you can apply again. Obviously they're going to fail this time, right? Like, they recognize that people change, and the fact that you made it to the on-sites the last time is actually a positive signal. They know that, like, okay, if we pull this person in and we spend time on them, we know they're at least going to probably get to on-sites. And it's very possible that in the last year they've developed as a programmer, right? Maybe this time they make it through. So on the contrary, I wouldn't be worried about them knowing that you had applied before. I would actually see it as a positive. Like, if you have applied before and you have a track record of having, you know, any kind of performance in the interviews, they're probably going to expect that you will likely do better this time because you've had time to develop.
Is it reasonable to try to follow up with professional or standard response to, sorry, I gotta stop reading 2 things at the same time. To follow up a silence or rejection to inquire about why you were not accepted, if there's ways you could improve, or if there's any red flags or anything that you would like to know about.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it can't hurt, right? Like, you've already not gotten an offer. What's the worst they can do to you? Most companies are not going to give you any specific feedback. I don't know if this is true or not, but the reason they will tell you they do it is they're afraid that they'll get sued if they tell you a reason that you decide was not legitimate, right? So they just want to keep it a black box where you don't know why you got rejected, so you can't try to challenge it. Whether it's that or whether it's more about saving awkward conversations, I honestly don't know. But most companies are just going to say, no, we're sorry, we don't give it specific feedback. That being said, some companies do, and it can't hurt to ask. And it can be valuable feedback if they are willing to do it.
All right. Do a lot or most dev jobs cover employees' health insurance, and can you negotiate for your spouse's insurance?
Yeah, so
No, it's more like, sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead.
If my husband's already got insurance for the family, can I negotiate for higher pay because I don't need the company's insurance?
Gotcha. Yeah, so it is totally standard to offer health insurance. I think most, you know, it depends on the size of the company, but generally speaking, you're going to get your health insurance paid. The experience that I've had is that you could try that, although my guess is that it would not work, because generally the way it works is you get hired, you go to open enrollment, and then you decide if you're going to get health insurance or not, right? Like, they can't generally make like an exception for you, like you cannot have insurance generally speaking, any employee has the ability to sign on to the health plan once they're hired. So my guess is that they probably would not be willing to kind of take it on faith that you would. Plus conditions change and you could end up needing it later on. So I would say benefits typically they're not going to be willing to negotiate on. Typically benefits are set, and even if you don't use them, that's just kind of how it is. Like they're there if you use them or not.
All right, so this next three kind of go along with contract versus full-time and also freelance work. So what have your experiences been with contract versus full-time? Is it smart to start with short contract jobs?
So I have no personal experience here. I've done full-time my whole career. Personally, I do know people who are contractors and who have done contract and work. Personally, I really love being a full-time employee. I like having a regular paycheck. I like, not having to file a 1099 at the end of the year. I like having defined benefits. However, there are benefits to contracting, right? Like if you enjoy changing jobs a lot, if you and also it typically pays more, right? So generally the deal is you either are a full-time and you get benefits and your taxes paid, or you're a contractor and they just throw more cash at you. So it's a very personal choice. For me, I have very little interest in venturing beyond full-time work. But depending on where you're at in your life, how you prefer to work, how much you like to move around, contracting could be a good option. The other thing is that if you are trying to get into maybe a kind of bigger name tech company, you have a hard time getting an interview for as a full-timer, you may be able to get into a contract position and then get that contract converted to full-time if you do a good job. In that sense, the contract period kind of becomes like an extended interview.
So this one's around freelance. So I don't know how much freelance you've done. How would you figure out your base pay or hourly to cover benefits like health, dental, etc.?
Yeah, I got no clue. Honestly, talk to a freelancer. I know that is probably one of the more difficult things about freelancing, and one of the things that scares me away from it.
Yeah. From the few freelancers that I've talked to and have worked with, we kind of did our base pay for a regular job and upped it by like $10 to $15 an hour to try to cover like having to pay for those benefits and things like that. That's just kind of a flat number we use, so everyone handles it a little differently. It's definitely something if you're on like the Suncoast Dev Slack channel, our community group, going in there and asking folks like how they figure that out. That's another option for you too. So, all right. Since I already talked about that, how do I get more involved in St. Pete's tech community?
I'll let you take this one if you want.
Okay. Well, there's multiple options. One thing is to definitely come to meetups. Our Suncoast Developers Guild, we host meetups on campus, but we also work with other groups, which is why we have a community Slack channel where you can meet all the different folks, and I can help you get access to that. It's actually, there's a button that you can click right on our website that'll let you log into that. That's one option. Going to meetups, definitely looking for hackathons is a great way. There's a group called Tech for Good, which is actually doing tech for nonprofits, where you can go in and work and help them with their WordPress sites, their marketing, any type of skills that you have. Doing conferences like our front-end design conferences downtown in the Palladium this week, just kind of doing those things. But definitely getting in that Slack group is a great place where you can meet other folks and find out what events they go to, because we'll have different topics. And it's a freak Slack channel. We kind of help moderate it so there's no bad things happening, but it's otherwise we don't control it. It's the community Slack group. So I can definitely help anyone that's interested in that, and that'll point you to some great options. Where do you find open source projects to work on?
So the only ones that I've like seriously been involved in, I think, is part of Summer Code. So for me, that came down to like me looking at a list of projects and trying to find the ones that have the best chance of being accepted to. I would say, so for me, the two projects that I've worked on are Darktable and Rockbox. Rockbox is like, it's barely even relevant to smartphones now, but it was like a custom firmware for iPods and stuff. And then Darktable is like a photo So for me, it was mostly like projects that I know and I use in my daily life. I thought would be interesting to work on. But you know, you can also look for things that you can find a technical challenge, right, or things that you think would be a good name to have on a resume. You know, there's different criteria you can use, but the things that you use that you enjoy every day are a good place to start with.
Yep, and there's also, I can't remember if it's October or November, I think.
Oh, Hacktober, right?
Yes, Hacktober, thank you. I couldn't remember the name of it. Where when Hacktober comes around, they'll put out a list of open source projects that you can help work on too. I know it's a few months away because I need October to be really far away from me, but it's another option for you. Okay, all right, we're going to dive deep into any tips on how to find distinguishing information on companies so that you can kind of personalize their cover letters and find their positive traits.
Yeah, so here's my little sneaky trick. I don't dig too deep. I will look at their website. I'll maybe like look at their Wikipedia page, maybe read a little bit about them. But I don't like to find out too much about the company because I want to have the ability to ask insightful questions once I'm in the process to show that I'm extra interested. So I like to learn enough to like make it clear that I know what this company is, that I've done a little bit of research. But I also want to be able to be like, can you tell me a little bit more about, you know, how this product works, right? And I want to be able to like honestly do that without actually having looked it up a week ago and knowing in intricate detail how it all works. So I just say like, look at the website, you know, look at the press they have. You don't spend too much time on it. Just make it clear that you are applying to that specific company.
And do you have any thoughts for employees who do not have experience in the U.S., recent immigrants?
Good question. I mean, I don't think that, like, if you have work experience, you know, wherever you came from, I don't think it necessarily is bad. I mean, maybe hiring managers see it differently, but I would think that work experience is work experience. Like, if you've been an engineer somewhere else, you've been an engineer. I mean, I know that I've been asked to interview a ton of people who were recent immigrants from all over the world, and they had mostly work experience that was not in the U.S. and didn't seem to stop getting interviews. So I'd say just put on your resume and go for it.
And are internships restricted to current students?
You know, I don't think that technically they are. In practice, you know, they expect intern applicants to be students. However, you know, if you're like just coming out of a code school or something, or you're just in a place in your life where you have some free time, it can't hurt to try. Right? Like you can still apply and see if they would be okay with your particular situation. It's not like a lot of interns have to be college students or anything. So to an extent, it would probably be a little bit of an uphill battle, but it's definitely something you can try.
Yeah, well, I do know I graduated from the Iron Yard 4 years ago, and my first position was a paid internship with a local company that was just looking for someone that wanted to kind of get in the field. So you can definitely look around and using resources like Reddit and looking for just kind of Googling what type of companies are in the area, you may be able to find those options that work best for you.